My name is Llewellyn and I am the owner and artist at Worn to Whimsy. And what I specialize in is the paintings on the pieces. So we're gonna be wrapping this one around. We already started it in part 1 and part 2. So we're moving on with part 3. We're gonna go ahead and do this side. So you can see I've already finished the front. I went back and touched it up a little bit from last time. So when I wrap it around the side, I basically just continue the painting that I started on the front and go ahead and put it all the way around the side. So we're gonna get through as much of this today as we can and try and recreate what's on the front there. Now, I usually do end up going back and touching up things, and making everything perfect. So what I'm spraying with today is just water in a continuous mist bottle so that it gives a nice even sort of a coating of water. And then I'm gonna be laying on a base of just white. So this is the color Cotton from Dixie Belle, and that is my base coat, and I'm going to be blending my other sunset colors into it. Okay, so what we're doing now, I am just putting on a quick base coat of Cotton. Okay, and then I have my base coat and it is still damp. I've used my mister bottle to spray it with some water, just using water. And now I'm gonna go and for this middle blended part, I'm gonna do apricot. And I am blending it in with the Cotton. Sorry about the squeaky wheels, this dresser's old, so. And I'm just gonna bring as much as I can see. I'm gonna try and stay out of your way, but I'll show you how I wrap it. So I'm gonna bring this part around the corner, and I will be peeking over there every once in a while to make sure I've got it all lined up. But in goes my apricot. Now this is like my bright, sunny part, like right where the sun is going down. And I just blend it right in with the Cotton. And I don't care if I go around the edge, just a little bit. And it covers really well once you blend it in with the Cotton because you have that white in there. And white always covers pretty well. Well, white on white always covers well. So I'm just gonna keep blending it in there. Maybe a little bit brighter. All right, so apricot is the first color, and I like to use a different brush for every color. Sometimes I'll use one for 2 colors, but I like to keep the colors usually so they don't get too muddy. I'll try and use, if I have enough clean brushes, I'll use a different brush for every color. So my second color, as I move upward and downward, because I reflect everything that's up top, I reflect it in the bottom. And my second color that I'm going in with is Amethyst. It's this really pretty bright purple color. And I still have that base coat of Cotton that I'm blending right in. And so I'm just blending into my Cotton, and it makes a really soft, sort of even, smooth blend. And then if you get a bit too much purple, just go back in. I'm grabbing my white brush with the Cotton and blend it out a little bit more. Which does kind of dirty my white brush, but. So yeah, basically just slowly, and you wanna go slow through this part. You don't need to rush it. You can also go back and do a second coat a lot of times just to make sure I've got it all perfected. I will go back and do a second coat. My Facebook page name is Worn to Whimsy, and I do a lot of these style paintings and tutorials on there. So if you are interested, you can go ahead and follow. Okay, so I'm going back in with a bit more white, and my brush still has a tiny bit of the amethyst. And this is mostly Cotton that I'm using right now, and then I'm gonna blend that amethyst back in. And I'm just switching back and forth between my brushes. And I move up and down sort of at the same time, just to make sure I get like
do you recommend priming when using white as a base?
Do I recommend what?
Priming.
Priming? The primer will act as kind of like a rough coat, so you can always prime if you think that you might have an issue with like a previous stain or tannins coming through. I do prime a lot. So I did prime this one. I used Boss because this is an old piece. And a lot of times on the older pieces, you never know what someone's done to it underneath there. So I didn't want to have to worry about any sort of a bleed through. So I did prime this one. Some of them are ready and you know you're not going to have any issues. So with Dixie Belle, you can paint like straight over the finish. It's just you would need like a blocker for any sort of issue you might come up with. Okay, so I'm going to continue just slowly working my way back and forth between these two. And hopefully I'm checking the camera to make sure that I'm even over here around the edge. It's one way to do it. And I don't want to get them too blended together, but I do want like a really, should have done that upside down, a really smooth transition. Like I don't want you to be able to see a line. There's not usually a line in the sky unless there's clouds, you know, so. Okay, working my way up and down. And I'm still spraying lightly, just misting it with the water to keep it flowing. Okay, so as we work our way down, now I have as much of the amethyst. I think I got it a little bit too high, but that's okay because I'll blend it right in with the Gulf. The Gulf is my next color, and so I have, this was my white brush. So I'm gonna go in, use some cotton as my base, and that just kind of gives me a white base. And of course you can always go in, this is kind of laying down the colors. I usually do a second coat. This is sort of like locking in the colors, but in all honesty, sometimes I will get a really good base coat and there will be no need to go back. So laying down the white first, I'm gonna peek, see where my line is, where the Gulf color started. Laying some white, got a little bit of amethyst, goes a really long way, so I got a little heavy-handed there, but that's okay.
Is there a certain brush you can use for this?
I really like, my favorite to blend with would have to be the Dixie Belle Oval brush, the medium. This is my favorite right there. And I also have a small one too. That's what I was using for the, which color was that? The apricot right here. I love those two brushes. I always make sure I have them on hand. If I have enough clean, I'll use them for everything. But today I had to like branch out because when you're blending with this many colors, I like to use a different brush for each color just to make sure I'm not muddying up my paint, so I can dip them right in there. So we're going in with the Gulf next. On the other side, I did a little bit of cotton and I kind of made like a gray area, and I really liked the way that looked because it almost looked like it faded into the mist. So I think I might just add a bit of cotton over here. Not too much, that was too much. There we go. And just kind of faded it all together. And what I like about the sunsets is like they don't have to be perfect, you know, like you can, clouds and skies, they're always different, and you can find inspiration from so much. I find inspiration all over the place. It could just be, you know, where I'm at in a moment, or it could be a picture that I see and I snap a screenshot of it really quick. So that's, I think, my favorite part about doing the sunsets is just you can do so many different things with them. So I'm still going in with my base of white, because my next color is gonna be cobalt, and cobalt is really bright. It's cobalt. It's really bright blue that Dixie Belle has. But when you mix it with the cotton color, it makes like this lovely sky blue, like right here, this blue. That's cobalt, and you mix it with the cotton and it turns into this really pretty sky blue. So again, going in with the cotton on the top and the bottom, just mirroring everything I do on the top, I will mirror it on the bottom. And grabbing another brush. Good thing I cleaned all my brushes. I've learned. I never know which colors I'm gonna use until I really start, so. And you can see that I just added in a little bit of the cobalt blue and mixed with the cotton. It made this really beautiful sky blue. And let's see if I can turn this. There we go. So you guys, I can see that I'm kind of in the right spots for it. And I want to take it around the edge, just a hint. Yes, that looks good. I want to take it around the edge just a little bit so that, you know, just enough to connect to that. And I can always touch up anywhere really. You can always just mix a little bit of the cotton and the cobalt on a plate or something. And woo, I got a lot of cobalt right there. All right, and that is the sky. Simple enough. I have a little drippy. Let me go in with the Gulf color. And my Gulf didn't come out very green. It's a little bit gray, so it's still a bit wet, so I might just go back in there right now. It got a little grayed out. And some of this side, I'm gonna be putting stuff over the top of it. So some of this, I'm gonna be putting land over, and so I don't have to worry too awfully much, but let's go back through with my purple, the amethyst color. I'm just doing one kind of final blend to make sure it's all nice and blended in there. I think we're looking good. That looks good to me. Now, this is our horizon line. So you're gonna have your land going right through the middle of this part. Let me grab my brush, or brushes, and then I'll show you how I mix the paint for this kind of a gray-blue color. And I'm just using a craft brush. It doesn't have to be anything exciting, just something that I can get the paint on there with, and then a bit smaller. I need like a medium-sized craft brush, so. All right, let me grab, I need a plate here. And I'm just gonna be mixing on a paper plate, and I'm using the cobalt blue. And a little tiny drip of amethyst, the purple. And I'm just pouring it right onto my plate. And I could probably bring it down if you'd like to see it, but I'm just gonna do this really quick, I'll show you. And then a tiny hint of cotton. And that's the white. So here's my plate, just a little dab of each. And I just kind of mix even parts of each to get that color. So I don't add that much cotton into this one yet, but for the reflection, that's where I would add a little bit more of the cotton. So let me try this. Move this a little bit so I can see. And I just bring it straight around the edge. And I hope you guys can see that rather than the back of my head. That looks good. And I can go in with, you can go in at any point and touch any of it up. It looks a tiny bit bright to me, so I'm gonna just add a tiny bit more cotton and maybe a hint more purple. It's a little bit blue. And with these, I just keep my plate, because this paint does like to dry pretty quickly. It's chalk paint, so it does, you know, it's the furniture paint. It dries pretty quick. So I just spray it lightly with my water, not to thin it down really, but just to keep it so that I can move it and keep playing with it. And I just want to get this color as close to that color on the other side as I possibly can. And then here is my land. So this is the land off in the distance. You can make little tree bumps. You can basically do whatever you want on this part of it. And all I have to do with the land is make sure that I get a nice straight line around the edge here. And that is probably the hardest part for me. Is the straight line, of course. Okay, here it goes. And it's just paint, so you know, anything I do here, I can always go back in and touch up whatever I want. It's never, you know, never has to be exactly the way I do it the first time. And believe me, I go back and I touch up a lot. Like, I am imperfect. Sorry, I have to concentrate on straight lines. Okay, let's get this a little more straight. Right now I'm just using the craft brush just to get this put in really quick. And I just kind of do a lumpy, flat, either or, but just something off in the distance. You can put little trees on it. Right here, I'm just gonna do hills. So now for the reflection, I'm gonna keep watering down my little 3 paints. And again, I'm just using a quick mix of the cobalt blue, and it was amethyst and cotton. So now I'm just gonna put a little more cotton into what I already did, the mix that I already have. So I'm just adding more white to it. And that should be pretty close, yep. And then what I do is I come around the edge and I just mimic everything that's up here that I've already done. I mimic it right along, and I leave a little space. Right now I'm using a craft brush. For the blending and stuff, I was using the Dixie Belle brushes, but for right now I needed something small enough to get my paint in there, so. Okay, and there's my reflection. It's simple as that. On the other side, I kind of went in with a little tiny bit of apricot. I might grab another brush and do that really quick. And then I'm also gonna be I have some land at the bottom that I'm gonna bring around as well. So basically, it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple and straightforward. It's what you did on the front, and you're just bringing it around the side. So let me grab another brush. I'm trying to find the right ones. There they are. And I'm gonna be putting some apricot while it's still wet. I'm just gonna blend some of the apricot and cotton, kind of like what we have as our base coat right along here. And right now is where you can kind of touch up your line as well. And I'm gonna go in, I'm using my finger. I'm just gonna blend it right in there so it looks a little blendy. And this is what I did along the front. Okay, so while we're here, I have one last little part that I'm gonna be wrapping around the side. We're done with our blending and our background. Everything's looking pretty good. I can see a little bit right here. I missed a spot. We'll just do some finger painting really quick too, why not? There we go. And then I'm gonna lower the camera a little tiny bit and try not to rub up against this thing. Okay, so now I am going in straight over what we've already done, so it's a little bit wet. Normally I would wait for it to dry, but for the sake of this live, I'm just going right in in the navy, and I'm just using a regular little brush. Any brush will do for this part, and I'm continuing to wrap the land around the side. So I am gonna be covering, like I said before, I'm gonna be covering most of this part up. So I don't need a ton of detail on these branches, not like I did on the other side. And then let me grab the correct brush. Here it is. This is the Dixie Belle brush. It's a natural hair bristle brush, and it makes a really good tree. I'm gonna grab a dry one, I think, for this. So I had another one hanging up, a dry one. And I'm gonna go right into in the navy color that I've been using. I haven't been using black. I haven't used any black on this piece yet. So this is in the navy, and I'm just gonna start kind of almost like what you would do, like a stippling or a pouncing. And you can kind of follow those branches. So the branches that I did, they're gonna show through a little bit, but they're there more for my sake, for a guideline. Like, it sort of gives you the shape of the tree to begin with. And I'm still going straight into that in the navy and just stippling it right on there. It's gonna make a nice big tree. So we had that kind of that old dead tree on the other side, but this side we're gonna go in with. This tree's got some leaves. And because it's a sunset, I don't have to be super detailed on this. It's just more of a shadow. And you can see it's blending a little bit because it's still wet, which I actually don't mind. I kind of like it blending with that, what was the color? Apricot in there. I think I like it. I might do more of that. Come in with the apricot for my lighter color that I'll be doing here in a second. Okay. Get all in here, just making the shapes of the branches. It doesn't have to be perfect, no tree really is, but it does make a statement with this dark behind it. And there you go, we've got a tree. So we've got one tree in there. I'm gonna be using the apricot to do my lighter color. And I will actually go in, I have some apricot on a plate over here that I was using earlier. So I'm gonna go in with my same brush. Oh, that looks like it's already dried. I should have sprayed it. So I'm gonna go in with my same brush, dump some more apricot on my plate. Hang on a second. So while I'm doing this, a lot of times I will spray my palette if I'm using my palette consistently. In the navy color with the apricot, it just kind of makes a bit of a gray color once you mix them together. And I'm just really lightly gonna go in here and just create some highlights on the tree, maybe where that last little bit of light is hitting it. I don't want too much, but just a tiny bit. And if I do it too light and I decide I need more depth or more dark to it, you can go back in with that in the navy and redo any parts that you didn't like. So there's my tree. That looks pretty good. It might be a little bit highlighted. I might have done a little bit more than I wanted to, but it's a good start. And like I said before, you can always grab some more of that in the navy and go right back in and darken up any areas you don't like. I don't want to do it too much right now because I don't want to make a gray mess. So we can just move on. I think I have time for one more tree. And that one might come all the way down here, but you can't tell. So it's gonna be a little shorter. It's gonna be closer. I'll just go up to here. And again, I like to go in and put a few branches in there. They don't even have to be perfect branches. They're more of a guideline as to where to stipple. And more of sizing out my tree, okay, I'm gonna put tree branches here and here and here. So you make a normal shaped tree so I don't get carried away. All right, let me get, again, the Dixie Belle brush with the natural bristle hair. Okay, and I'm going back in here with the little grasses, and I'm still using In the Navy. And just adding these little tiny details just gives you a little bit more, it just makes it look a little more realistic. You can go in and add highlights or anything along here too. Like just areas that show where the ground maybe is a little bit higher and has light reflecting off of it. I don't need these to be everywhere, but just enough to show that there's something happening. It's not just a boring flat land. And then over here, I'll probably add some reeds. Adding some little reeds coming out of the water. I mean, you can add whatever you want, little rocks. And then if you're adding it on the water, I like to go in. I showed this on the front before, but I like to go in and I just washed my brush so it has a tiny bit of paint on it. And I like to go in and just do a little reflection. And that's what really grounds a piece, like it grounds the land. It shows you that, you know, it's not just floating in midair or sitting there on top of the water. But so I'm just adding like really watered down for the reflection. And that would basically be wrapping around the edge. So I think I've got accomplished. This is part 3. If you didn't watch, there's 2 other parts for the front of the piece. So I did like my blending and the land for the front of the piece, maybe a bit more detailed, but I wanted to show you guys how to wrap it. So that's what we finished up tonight. And again, my name's Llewellyn. Thank you so much for joining me. My Facebook page is Worn to Whimsy, and I do a lot of these tutorials. So if you ever feel like watching, come on by and give my page a like. Thank you guys for watching tonight, and I hope you all have a great week. I'll see you again soon. Bye.